Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I know we're a little early today, but I've got to head down to the California State Legislature. We've got a number of bills that are going to be up in both the Senate and the Assembly Public Safety Committees. So if you get a chance, tune in. That's going to start at about 8:30 or so, depending on when they get the bills started. But I'm going to be running down there, get all suited and booted and head over there real quick. So appreciate you guys for being patient enough for me to allow me to run this a little bit early. Anyway, want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page, or follow our Facebook page so that you can receive these alerts whenever we go live. Also, go to our website, firearmspolicy.org, and sign up for our email alerts. And go to FPC Gear, fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. You can go there, get all sorts of cool T-shirts, help promote the Second Amendment, and you will look good while you are doing it. We got stuff for ladies. We got stuff for the guys. It's a win-win. You look good. You help support the Second Amendment and the Firearms Policy Coalition. That's fpcgear.com. All right, getting into today's topic. We hear a lot about mass shootings. Normally, they're on the front page of every newspaper. They're on every news channel. But there was a mass shooting that took place over the weekend that you're not going to hear a whole lot about, and that's largely because it doesn't fit a narrative. And you're saying, Craig, what narrative are you speaking? Of what narrative do you speak? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you check out the story, and then at the end of the story, we'll talk about it then at that point, what that narrative is. And, maybe we'll sum it up together. So check it out.
There was chaos in Trenton, New Jersey overnight when bullets started flying at an all-night arts festival. One of the shooters is dead. More than 20 are wounded. Meg Oliver has the story.
People flooded out of an art festival in Trenton, New Jersey after gunfire erupted just before 3 a.m. Sunday.
And next thing you know, we turn around and everybody's running down the street. All hell broke loose.
Investigators say it started when several rival gang members at the event started shooting at each other. More than 1,000 people were in the area, sparking a stampede as they ran for their lives.
When I was running, the guy was running next to me. So by the time I realized he got hit, he fell on the ground. So I'm like, oh, that could have been me.
22 people were injured, 17 are being treated for gunshot wounds.
Shots fired down here at Trenton all night, y'all.
Police shot and killed one suspect, 33-year-old Tahish Wells. Another suspect, 23-year-old Amir Armstrong, is in custody, charged with a weapons offense, and a third unidentified suspect is in critical condition. Art All Night is in its 12th year, a 24-hour pop-up art gallery that lets artists display their work for free. It typically attracts up to 30,000 people every year. Organizers say, our hearts ache and our eyes are blurry, but our inspiration will never fade, not tonight, not ever. Police found several weapons on the scene. The suspect who was killed was just released from prison on parole for homicide charges. 3 victims who were in critical condition have been upgraded to stable, including a 13-year-old boy, Elaine.
Meg Oliver, thank you.
All right, so let's kind of break down a little bit about this particular shooting. First of all, I love the way they just kind of glossed over the fact that this shooting was gang-related. What a lot of people don't realize, and what a lot of people who promote gun control don't realize, is that most gun violence is gang or drug violence. It's usually gang or drug related. That is the overwhelming majority of gun violence. Although they include suicides as gun violence, but I'm talking just non-suicide related firearms shootings. Most of them are drugs and gangs. Most of them can be traced to certain communities. I don't think I need to name them, like Chicago, Oakland. I don't think I need to name them like Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey. I mean, I don't think I need to name the places where you find a lot of this stuff. But I'm pretty sure that wherever you find gangs, wherever you find drugs, there's a pretty good chance you're also going to find gang violence. But that's one of the reasons why no one's going to be marching on this particular thing. Because they're going to basically be saying, well, because they know that it's gang violence. It doesn't fit into their nice little neat narrative. Because you can't talk about a shooting that deals with gang violence without talking about the gangs, without pointing to the fact that here you have an incident that is specifically related to and tied to gangs, and maybe the reason why this happened wasn't because people have the right to own guns. Maybe it happened because these guys were in gangs and were doing little to nothing to address that issue. Now, one of the other things that they point to in this particular one is one of the lone victim. Now, this individual, this guy right here he's one of the shooters. Now, he's the one who was dead. He was in prison serving a 22-year sentence. He had 18 years. I'm going to clarify. He got sentenced to 18 years for manslaughter, and then while in prison, he was convicted and was sentenced to 6 more years for racketeering, running a gang from inside prison, for being part of helping to run a gang inside of prison. So he wasn't supposed to be out of prison till sometime in the 2020s, but he got let out of jail early. Because he got let out of jail early, he was now out on the streets, and this is what happens. See, that's another thing that they don't want to tell you, is that a lot of what is occurring, in particular when we're seeing an increase in crime and an increase in violent crime, it's because of this trend of what they call criminal justice reform, which is, in essence, just letting criminals out of jail. That's how they plan on reforming the jail. I guess if you have less criminals in jail, then there's less criminals in jail? I don't know. But that's what they call it. They call it criminal justice reform, but they're not really reforming anyone. They're just letting the criminals out on the streets. Interesting. The other reason why is because, in this case, the main victim, the only victim that is dead, happens to be the perpetrator of the crime, which, by the way, is interesting because you have groups like Everytown. I think Vox has their counter where they go and they report on gun crime. You have all of these groups, it's the Trace too. But these guys, they go and they talk about these gun crimes. And the funny part is that when they talk about gun deaths or deaths due to gun violence, this guy, as the perpetrator of the crime, the guy who's guilty of in essence, in this case, shooting, 17 people, injuring total of 22. Yeah, because he died, he's going to be listed as a victim of gun violence, which is incredibly odd to me because then he's not going to. Is he still going to be listed as the perpetrator of gun crime? No, I think clearly he's a criminal. So in their eyes, he is a victim. I don't know. That just seems to be how they do things. The other thing is that, as you can see, these perpetrators are not white males. And, white males happen to be everybody's favorite bad guy. If you are a middle-aged or a young white male or even an old white male, it doesn't really matter. If you are a heterosexual white male, then clearly, according to these folks, everything in this country is your fault. And whenever we have an opportunity to point out that there is something wrong in this society, we also want to make sure that we point out that it is the white man's fault. Yeah. I know. Some of you are pissed right now. I get it. I'm right there with you. The thing is that, and once again, this goes back to the whole point that I was making, that this doesn't fit their narrative. This shooting is not going to fit within their narrative. So you're not going to see a lot of marches about it. But I guarantee you this. I guarantee you that there are people out there who are going to take advantage of it because, they just cannot help themselves. Take, for example, Governor Phil Murphy, who decided he was going to send out a tweet. And here's what he decided to tweet. Here in his tweet, he says, "We awoke to news of a mass shooting right here in Trenton. Art all night is a time when we come together. We cannot let gun violence tear us apart. These are not inappropriate times to talk about gun policy. These are the most important times to talk about gun policy." All right, so now my question following up on this particular tweet, quite frankly, just happens to be this. If this is a time to talk about gun policy, then why are we not talking about gang policy? Why are we not talking about criminal justice? The fact that, Mr. Governor, this guy's out on the street. He's out on the street because of you and your policies, because you want to let criminals out on the streets, and then you want to take away the rights of law-abiding citizens. You want to disarm people who this guy would want to attack, who he's seeking to inflict harm upon. These criminals, these gang members, these drug dealers, they are seeking to commit whatever crime they can against law-abiding citizens. And your response is, let's limit the rights or disarm law-abiding citizens. Why don't you want to talk about that? Well, because then all of a sudden, then you're going to go after part of your constituency, right? We can't be locking people up because I need them to vote for me. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. What it comes down to is politics. I look at a lot of it. They want to say as well, there's a disproportionate number or percentage of people of color that are in prison. And I'm like this, and just going to keep it real. If you're not committing crimes, now here's the thing. Here's what I'll tell you. I happen to believe that if you're not committing a crime, that's the easiest way to stay out of jail. If we want criminal justice reform, we need to do more to try and we want parity in our prisons. Then maybe what we need to do is to make sure there's some sort of parity in the commission of crimes. Meaning, if we don't want to disproportionately wind up in prison, then let's not get caught committing crimes. Now, I agree. When you look at the statistics, some of you may disagree with me on this. The statistics do show that if two people of different ethnicities are arrested for the same thing, one is more likely to get charge the higher thing than the other. One is more likely to get a longer sentence. I get that, and I know that's an issue. But here's the deal. Don't commit the crime. That's how you stay out of jail. That's how I stayed out of prison. I didn't commit crimes. Funny how that works, isn't it? So if we really want true criminal justice reform, let's not commit the crimes. If we really want to reduce gun violence, then let's go after the people who are committing gun violence, because guns by themselves do not commit violence. Every morning you see me. I usually have my carry firearm. I sit it right here. It has never, ever, ever gone off. I sit it right there. It has not committed an act of violence on not one person. Not one. It's the individual. It's the person who has the firearm. So let's go after those individuals. Who are they? They are gang members. They are drug dealers. They are criminals. So let's go after the criminals. What a novel idea. But we all know that, Mr. Murphy is not going to do that because, Mr. Murphy needs the criminals and their families to vote for him so that he could get reelected. And that's how they roll in good old New Jersey. And all right, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a part of the fight for our civil rights. Remember, you've got to use them or you are going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.